my name's Scott Froman and welcome to the Backwoodsman Institute. Well, today, we've done previous videos where we've harvested deer and processed it, skinned them, and all the way through. Well, now we're going to do one of the things that we're going to be utilizing is the skins. And in particular, the way I take care of my skins is I brain tan them. You could commercial tan them or you can brain tan them, whatever, but I like to do the brain tan buckskins just because it's more traditional and it's only in a self-sufficient type of environment or in a survival type of environment. It's a good thing to know how to do something like that. What you're going to be taking and dealing with is obviously the raw deer skin, and I got it already stretched out here on a frame. Now, part of the process of brain tanning is you're actually getting the brains, the oils and stuff that's in the brains to coat the fibers of the skin, and that loosens up the skin. In a commercial type, like commercial leather, is they slip the hair off and then they put it in a solution and they actually break the fibers of the skin and make it soft. Where here with brain tanning, you're actually coating the fibers, and as it's drying, you're keeping those fibers loose and stretched out so that it's a soft, pliable piece of material. Then once you get it to that point, if it ever got wet again, it would turn right back to rawhide. So what you're doing is you smoke it, and then the creosote and the tar and stuff that from the smoking process coats those fibers and keeps them kind of waterproof, and that way it's a nice piece of material and you can get it wet and wear it, and it's a very serviceable and good piece of material to work with. But as far as getting started with brain tanning, here is a skin that's already stretched out on the frame, and I've fleshed it already. You can flesh it while it's still on the frame and with your scraper before you go on to and let it dry. It has to dry before you can dry scrape it. Let's talk a little bit about the actual tool, and the main tool that's going to need for dry scrape is your scraper. My scraper I've used for probably 20 years. I made it myself. I'm sure you can probably find them on the internet if you do a little searching, but it basically is a blade. It's set at a 90-degree angle. This one is on a heavy piece of metal that I've actually found laying around the old barn down there. I think it was a brake handle of the old wagon somewhere, and this was old file because you want a good piece of material that holds a sharp edge to it. So I took an old file that I had and stuck it in there and kind of shaped it and rounded it, the edges a little bit of it. You can see that's kind of rounded like that, and you can see where I've been sharpening it. I keep a little stone in my pocket here, and then I put keep it nice and sharp on there so that I can actually do the scraping. This, like I said, it's a 90-degree, and the way I'm going to be holding it like this and scraping it, the hide, like this way. So let me show you how to go ahead and get started on this deer hide. Like I said, this hide has already been stretched out on the frame and it's dried on there. Now when I put it on the frame, I fleshed it. So you stretch it out on the frame, but you want to make sure that you got plenty of room on the side of your frame to pull it tight, because actually a lot of the muscle and the membrane on that side kind of keeps the hide tight. So as you remove it, you can stretch it a little bit more. So after it's stretched, after it's fleshed, and I stretch it out as much as I can on the frame. But see, now then I'll let it dry for a day or two, make sure it's completely dry, because it needs to be dried in order to do the dry scrape. And you want to start, we want to let this is the neck part of the animal, and you want to let see how the hair kind of lays. That's the way you want to start with it. And I usually start way up on the front here, and I'll actually start scraping where I can get to it. It's a little bit, pretty thick on the top up here, so it takes a little bit to get started. I'll find a thin spot, where I can actually break through the hair part of it, where I can get to the grain of it, and start removing the hair and the grain with it. So you see how I've been scraping on here, and I'll get a little tuft of hair here. You can see that maybe this tuft of hair, it's got just a little bit of the grain part of it on there. You want to make sure that, like I said, as you're taking the hair off, you're also, the grain, and a lot of it, basically pretty well, the roots of the hair are growing into the grain, and you want to remove that. Basically, all I'm doing is scraping the hair along with the grain and just working my way all the way down through the hide. I don't necessarily go along the very edges of it. You can see where I put like baler twine in to stretch my hide with baler twine. I just kind of stay right at the edge of it so that I don't take a chance of, the scraper's pretty sharp, and going off of it and maybe cutting one of the strings. So I usually just stay, right at the edge of it, leave a little bit around there, and just keep working my way down the center part of the hide all the way around it. So just keep on working all the way down through there. Take your time with it, and you want to make sure that you get all the grain off you possibly can. And then after I get all the hair and the grain off of it, I come through with a coarse piece of sandpaper and make sure that I got all the grain off of there, that in case I missed some of it with the scraper. But like I said, on using this scraper, you're actually hitting the hide, like that, and you're scraping it down. So once you work yourself across the top, you can go at different angles too. It doesn't have to be, just constant like this. And I kind of work different ways down at different angles and get it down. You can actually see, like I said, the hair and the grain is coming off of there pretty good. So it takes a good while to do a deer hide. Make sure you allow yourself enough time. Don't get in a big hurry with it. And just the more effort you put into scraping of it and getting the grain off, the better off you're going to be. One of the things that you're going to have to be mindful of when you're scraping also is wherever there's a hole in the hide, you're going to have to know where they're at, because if you're going along and all of a sudden you hit that hole, you could tear the hide even further with this sharp edge. So you want to work around it very slowly and really gently, and work all the way around that. Expose that hole out as best you can and get a lot of that grain off of it. You can always come back later with like sandpaper or something, or a pocket knife, and do some fine scrape in there, but you want to be very careful that the blade don't pop through that hole. See if I can get it exposed here a little bit. And even expose a little bit more, and then take your time with it. You can kind of see where it's showing up here in that hole is. That's the one thing about working with deer skins is you're going to have holes in it. Those holes don't, be nice not to have one, but sometimes you just can't be avoided. So you work around those holes real gently with your scraper, or take a pocket knife, or you can sand them down a little better, as you're coming along there. So like I said, be mindful of the holes. And a lot of times too, examine your hide on the other side. You can see where they kind of might have scored the hide a little bit, and that's a weak spot. So when you go to scraping it, you might punch through that. So be careful of that. I went ahead and flipped the hide around because I wanted to show you the flesh side also, because you're going to have to do some scraping on the flesh side to get rid of this membrane that's in there. So you want to make sure that all that membrane is gone. And see, like some of it you can even peel off. But scrape this side down, get it in there, and then also run your sandpaper over this and kind of bust up any of the membrane that you got left stuck on there. So like I said, both sides, grain and hair on the other side, and you know, the membrane onto the flesh side has to come off. Okay, I got this side, it's all sanded, I got the grain removed, I got the membrane removed, and touched it up with a little bit of coarse sandpaper to make sure that, you know, I get it any little bit that I can. So it's ready for the braining process. And so right now I'll go ahead and just cut this hide free of the frame. And what I'll do is I'll just cut right along the edges and get it all cut loose. I'll get back with you.